I've traveled quite a bit over the last few decades. Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Mexico, Central America. I spent most of my career covering either narco-terrorism or terrorism itself. So I was on the war zone, out on the front lines with our troops. Most of the time during my career in Washington, D.C., I spent on the front lines in Afghanistan and Pakistan with our troops.
You know, but you went deep into Afghanistan.
Correct.
You knew warlords in Afghanistan. You told me, telling us all a story yesterday that was pretty fascinating about one particular warlord that you met, and you were not exactly in the green zone in these areas. You were deep into the heart of Taliban territory in some cases.
Yes, I believed it was important, Sean, for journalists, and there were a few journalists like me that went out there. Some of them have lost their lives covering the war, so I think it's important to honor the people that have done their work to bring the truth to the American people and to cover our troops on the front line. We spent a lot of time on the border with the troops, leaving the green zones, which people would consider safe zones, and they're not always safe. I mean, Kabul, we've seen a number of bombings. We've seen the Taliban really infiltrate the cities and make it potentially dangerous for everybody. We've seen people killed there over the past years. It's a big concern.
And you were undercover a lot. In other words, you would dress in not a burqa, but
I would dress appropriately. So I would wear shalwas and shamis. I would cover my head with a scarf. I wasn't necessarily wearing a burqa, but I would go out with the Afghans. We spent so much time on the road, and I was able to understand the country in a different way than maybe people would understand if they were just seeing it from a forward operating base where the military was at. So we would spend time driving through Panjshir Valley up to Mazar Sharif. And you're right, I did have an opportunity to have dinner and meet and get to know General Abdul Rashid Dostum. So it's very interesting.
Isn't that general the one that was responsible for killing hundreds of Taliban, burning them, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, there are a lot of stories about General Dostum. You know, Dostum is a very fierce man, and he has a reputation. And so it makes it difficult when you're interviewing somebody like that with that kind of a reputation. But also remember, General Dostum was the guy that assisted both the CIA and the U.S. military when we first went back into Afghanistan after 2001. He, on horseback, with our CIA and with our special forces, went after Al-Qaeda. So we need those guys. You know, we need to be able to deal with them. We're in another part of the world. They have a different way of life. It's about survival, and sometimes the brutality is unbearable for us because we live in the United States. We live with such freedom and opulence compared to places like this.
You even said, describing Afghanistan, as we were all having this big discussion, and Daniel Hoffman was there, and Dr. Gorka was there, and you were describing your experiences, and, you know, you literally said for the average Americans, they just don't know that this company, we're going back like 1,500 years in terms of the life that they're living. You know, an indoor toilet to them would be like, huh? What's that?
That's right. That's right. I mean, Afghanistan is like going back 2,000 years before Christ in some places. I mean, there's no running water. People live from the land, and they really hadn't had any exposure. In fact, a lot of our troops, even me, they would say, are you Russian? Because they would think, oh, this must be the Russians are still here, because their villages were so isolated. And you're right, there's a really interesting quick story that I'd like, and I'd like to bring up General Michael Flynn, because he wrote an excellent report while he was in Afghanistan. And I remember talking to him about this. There was a village in Afghanistan where we put millions of dollars bringing water into the people. And the United States thought, this is amazing. We can't believe we did this. We brought water into this village. When they went back to go check on the village after the pipes had been installed, it was going into their khalats, their little homes. All of the pipes were destroyed. Everything was destroyed. Millions of dollars wasted. And they thought this must be the Taliban. And in the end, what they realized, it was the women of the village. Because the only time the women had to go outside to meet and to talk to one another was when they went to the well. So bringing the water into their homes just isolated them even more. So this is what I mean about understanding another culture. This is what makes Trump's meeting with Kim Jong-un so important. This is a huge victory if we can keep it moving forward. This is a nation with nuclear weapons. This is a man who was apparently very unstable. And this is a president reaching out to someone and saying, wait a minute, let's find a way to find one common piece of ground, a way to make this work. And in the scheme of all things, that's great news. It's better than what we saw in November, where he was testing the ICBM, that by all accounts terrified our intelligence community. I can tell you.
Remember, they were talking about ICBMs that he was now testing, and he has the nuclear weapons. And then they're talking about reaching New York, Boston, and the continental United States.
Absolutely, with the capability of reaching the United States. Another thing that was a huge concern is the ability for that ICBM, and what they noticed was how the trajectory of it. It went over 2,000 miles straight up into space. What do we have in space? We have satellites. Those satellites basically run the world. They run our banking systems. They run our internet. I mean, a destabilizing effect would be to take out one of those satellites. Can you imagine what would happen globally?
What is the reason then and the motivation of Kim Jong-un? Was it the economic sanctions? Was it the president's tough rhetoric coupled with the military presence he threw off the coast of the Korean Peninsula? You know, 6 strike brigades, Navy strike brigades off the coast. Was it the suffering of his people? Did he wake up and realize that my rule is in jeopardy because there's no food and people are suffering and dying? Did all of a sudden the Kim regime have a moment of compassion for his people? Or was it fear?
I don't think it was either of those things. I think it's a combination of things. I think that he is very isolated from the rest of the world. Of course, I don't know Kim Jong-un, so I can't analyze him, but he seems to be, you know...
I thought you were best friends.
No, that's Dennis Rodman's job, and he seems to know him. But I think it was a combination of things. It was the threat that he understood that President Trump means business. He can't gauge President Trump, just like Vladimir Putin can't gauge President Trump, and never has been. He doesn't understand where is this man coming from. But he also understood that he meant business, that he was putting out a military threat. Also, Kim Jong-un is very isolated from the rest of the world. He's a narcissist, but he's very alone. And I think that if we're looking at a personality, he was saying to himself, this is the one chance I have to change things around. This is my moment to put my father behind me and to tread my own new path. And that may be what people will find out.
I also think the Chinese and the president forging a good relationship with China had a big part to play. And when we discussed this last night on TV, we'll probably get back into it tonight. There was a moment where China sent back a shipment of coal and ordered an American shipment in its place, which was, okay, we've got control of the finances here. And I think the partnership, the good relationship that President Trump has with the president of China played a big role in this. All right, we got to take a break. We will come back. We are in Singapore, the best radio coverage available for you as we continue. We're also going to have our interview with the president, President Trump, post-summit on Hannity tonight, 9 Eastern, 9 a.m. local time. And then we'll get reactions. Sarah Carter will be with us. Dr. Gorka will be with us. Daniel Hoffman. They're all on the ground here with us. Also, we'll preview when we get back the IT report. But first, you want to look your best, and you don't want to take the risk of some type of significant surgery. We all can name people that have tried that. It didn't really work out well. That's where our friends at Chamonix come in. And, of course, their best-selling product is Genucel to get rid of bags and puffiness under your eyes. They've also developed a brand new product called Genucel Eyelid Lift for droopy, saggy eyelids. In other words, something that I probably need right now. And for the first time ever, you're going to get the world-famous Cristal's Microderm Abrasion. That's also free. And by the way, in the best sale of the year, just got even better. Now, Claire from Raleigh, North Carolina writes, well, I've been using your products 3 days. My husband, he's already noticed the texture of my skin looking so good, feeling so smooth, with so much moisture, and the bags under my eyes are minimal now. So far, so good. And you're guaranteed results. The best thing about Chamonix products, guaranteed within 12 hours, or you get your money back, no questions asked, no risk to you. All right, so just go to 800, call now, 800-SKIN-509. Their website is Genucel.com. That's 800-SKIN-509, Genucel.com. We'll take a quick break as we continue. The Sean Hannity Show, the best summit radio coverage from Singapore, available on your radio dial. Hannity, my interview with the president tonight at 9 on the Fox News Channel. We'll continue.
Sean Hannity Show is up.